Welcome to another segment of my unofficial coverage of the 2026 World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships. In parts 1 and 2, I publicly asked anyone involved with Worlds to come and have a chat on here, and the first invitation has been accepted. In this video, I welcome Charlie Kendall, the newly elected president of the International Jigsaw Puzzle Association, or the IJPA, which is kind of the WJPF, but not really the WJPF. I mean, they're part of it. They're not part of it. He explains it better. And while Charlie is not directly involved with the organization of Worlds this year, he has been a voice behind the scenes for many years previously. We will talk about some of the things that happened at the 2025 World Championships. We'll talk about some of the concerns people have had about this year's World Championships, of course, as well as what there is to look forward to in Spain in just a few weeks from now, as well as discussing some glimmers of hope for what may occur in 2027 and beyond with regards to the World Championships. I do want to thank Charlie for coming on here and talking with me, and if you do have questions for him, he has generously offered to have his email address for the IJPA included in the description below, so feel free to reach out to him if you have questions about the International Jigsaw Puzzle Association. There's also a few other little bits of information below as well that might be of interest to you. So let's get into it. Hello, and I have a special guest in my Worlds 2026 coverage, and I'm joined today by Charlie. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Adam. Nice to be here with you.
It is great that you are here joining me. I did put out in one of my previous videos in this series asking if somebody from involved with Worlds would come and talk with me, and here you are. So yeah, thank you.
Here I am. I got the memo a little bit late, but anyway, better late than never. I was quite surprised that nobody had alerted me because it was a very obvious invitation, and somehow your episode 2. I had seen episode 1, and then I got episode 3, and I thought, where's episode 2 gone? And I thought I'd go and check it out, and there it was. So I thought I'd better give him a call. So I wasted no time.
And that is why people need to click subscribe so they get the alerts every time a new video comes out. So click that button below.
I think I am. I think I am subscribed.
So we are obviously like and subscribe. So we are obviously going to be talking about Worlds this year and a few other topics as well. But before we get into it, just in case people aren't aware of who you may be, which I'd be shocked at this point in the puzzle community, but kind of just who are you and what is your association with the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship?
Well, I'm Charlie Kendall, and I'm slightly split in two today, the Gemini that I am. And I'm split in two as well for World Championships this year. I've always been the presenter and general dog's body, part of the organization with an increasing role year on year. With the World since its inception in 2019, where I was just effectively just to ease communication with the first international puzzlers who were turning up to the first ever Worlds, now 7 years ago. But I became more involved. I got involved behind with a microphone in hand, doing interviewing the winners, second place in all different events as well. And have been involved ever since in a growing capacity, I'll say, organizationally.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into your entire background and everything else. There is a Peace Talks episode with Rob Shields that will be in the description below. I highly encourage people to go and watch that after this video. It's great. I really enjoyed that episode. You do talk a lot about last year's Worlds as well, which we'll touch on. We're not going to dwell on, but we'll touch on it a little bit. But it's a very good episode.
Absolutely.
So if you want to know more about Charlie, definitely go and check out that Peace Talks episode with Rob Shields. So yeah, let's just go straight into it. Let's kind of start from not the beginning as you would on Peace Talks, but starting about a year ago. Well, almost exactly a year ago now with Worlds of 2025. It was my first Worlds. It was an interesting experience, we'll say, to say the least. A lot happened last year that when we look back at it now, it's a little bit, there's funny aspects, there's concerning aspects, but as we approach this year's Worlds, we do need to think about kind of what happened last year. The first thing I want to talk about, because it's the funniest, there was a storm during one of the team's qualifiers, and yeah, you mentioned that you do presenting, you interview a few people, you're on the live streams a little bit, you're kind of helping around here and there. Did you think when you started the day that you're going to be standing on top of a table holding a chair upside down trying to stop the storm of the year?
Absolutely not. No, that was a day I thought finally. I looked at that day. I remember it very clearly. And I thought, teams, 3 hours. I should be able to relax a bit today. Today should be. There've been a lot of work. I mean, I would run off my feet as usual, and I've become the sort of go-to person as a troubleshooter. And an awful lot of people seem to have my telephone and Charlie, this is going on, so and so is going on, a decision needs to be made here, something's happening over here. And so I thought finally this should be a fairly easy one. But no, as the day went on, it turned out to be quite the opposite. In fact, probably the longest of all of my days there. And yes, we started off with the teams. There was a bit of, we had the that was the magician tablecloth trick day as well, where so there was the confusion as to whether or not you could just pull the vinyl out from underneath the first puzzle, cover it. And anyway, we had people on both sides lighting up in arms. You shouldn't be able to do this. Other people said, yes, you can do this. And there's nothing specific in the rules. And yes, and it turned out judgment had to be made really using a slightly different rule, saying you couldn't have a piece cut of it. And so we managed to sort it out. Not everyone was happy about it. But that was probably about, I think we had 2 teams competitions already by that stage with the 4 elimination rounds last year. And so that was after, and so we had the second. Anyway, so the decision was made that nobody had gained an advantage from that, but it just needed to be clarified that it should be in a different, the rule. I think the rules have been amended this year. You might know more about than I do.
I don't think so. I'm going to, as you continue your story, I will check to see if that specific thing is included. I don't believe so. I do have the rules up here.
Again, I'm sounding vague about the rules is because I'm not actually involved in the writing of the rules, nor the upholding of the rules this year. In my role as president of the IJPA, which has come about since Worlds last year. But no, more of that a bit later on. We can carry on talking about that day anyway. So then the weather, after being incredibly hot for the whole week, broken air conditioning in the dome, and the storm comes, and it was. I mean, I think we're going to say atmospheric. I think in every sense of the word, because you had this rain pelting down as well, and of course we're in effectively what's a greenhouse. And then, of course, it turns out it's not quite as watertight as it might be.
No,
so we're running up and down the aisles trying to plug leaks, making sure people don't slip over. And some people have got water dripping onto their puzzle. And so, so I just thought, what can I do here? And so I thought, well, there's a chap absolutely so focused on the puzzle. I remember this team. And I just held the chair above me. He had no idea I was there. He was puzzling away. His teammates had moved the puzzle away to another spare table, and they'd gone. The puzzle had disappeared, and he was still concentrating on his section. And his teammates, come on, we've moved. And he looked up, and he realized his teammates had gone. The puzzle has gone. He wasn't actually soaking wet because I was holding this chair up, and we moved him along to the other table to finish the puzzle. In this very atmospheric storm, which had just, I mean, it was a relief in some ways, But you'd never have imagined it being affecting life in the dome quite so much as it did.
It was quite the day to experience. I'm happy I wasn't in that specific qualifier round, but being able to watch it, it was definitely funny. Was there anything else that kind of stood out to you or memorable from 2025?
I mean, 2020. I mean, all sorts of reasons. I mean, it started off with the. I mean, I call them plectrum. They're the cutting devices,
Ugh.
and it was very apparent that this is going to cause huge amounts of stress. And I'd found out 2 or 3 weeks before, and I was desperately trying to get it changed. I said, "This is a major." I was convinced that it was. I really thought it could overshadow Worlds in the beginning of the week. I mean, this is obviously before we knew this could be a massive heat wave with broken air conditioning, and I was desperately campaigning to have this removed. And everyone I spoke to was up in arms about this. They felt it was unfair. I personally felt it was unfair as well to be foisted on people without having ever seen it before. But finally managed to get it changed. Literally, when I was up on stage announcing the first ever, the first trial of next week, and it was finally. And so that was a rule change, which I've had no pushback from. Nobody has said, "I can't believe you changed that rule before." There was literally nobody who said, "I wish you hadn't changed that rule. You shouldn't have changed it." So I think that's a good sign that the right decision was made, albeit late in the day.
I was in that round. I was in the very first qualifier for individuals. So I was sitting at the table when you announced it. And I remember being happy about it because I was also in the Nations Challenge or the Organizations Challenge the day before.
Yes.
And my job, one of my roles on Team Canada was to open the box. So I was the one of the first people to use that little teardrop cutter, and it took ages for me to figure out how that worked. And it usually I can open a box in seconds most of the time, and this was taking ages. And yeah, so I was happy, and I was trying to describe to everybody else who was competing that day, going, "This is how you need to use this tool that's not sharp, but you have to figure out how it works." I remember there was one team, I don't know if it was, I think it was the French team who just
France,
who
absolutely.
just
They
ripped
just
their
ripped it.
box.
They
Yeah,
destroyed the box. Yeah, they
yeah,
destroyed the box.
because you just couldn't
France.
get through that. So yeah, no one was upset that we were given the time to, or at least the minute, to
Yes.
open the box. The minute issue is different because it takes away from the excitement a little bit, but
I mean,
it
I would
was
agree
fun.
with you with that as well. And if I'm honest, I'm I don't think it's not such an issue having a minute or not having a minute. I feel listening to the episode of Peace Talks with William and Daphne, two excellent judges as well on the circuit. And they explained how they had a foolproof way of opening the boxes, so everyone could have an open box. I think it was 100% as well, zero failures. I've been in Sweden, the preparation in Sweden as well, not exactly the same system, but I'm never heard of anybody having an issue with the box being still closed. And I tend to agree with you. I think they should be opened, and I think you should have the puzzle opened. I'm hoping that maybe I can persuade the organisation that will be in place at least for semi-finals and finals. Perhaps at least have that surprise. I will mention it, but again, as I say, I have influence, but I'm not actually organising, and so don't actually have decision-making power over this.
Let's kind of talk about what's happened since your Peace Talks episode, which came out soon after Worlds last year. A lot has happened in the 10, 11 months since then. So let's kind of go through that story. What has changed for you within the puzzle community and your role within it?
Well, enormously, it's changed. I mean, in some respects, ironically, in this year's actual Worlds, I'm actually I'm actually got less to do with the organisation this year than I would have done under normal circumstances. Um, Things being as they were, as I'll come on to explain. But certainly in the aftermath of Worlds, there was a really bad feeling about about the state of affairs in general, which is pretty upsetting. I think with a fair amount of justification. I mean, I've seen your videos about it, I think with a lot of they were a difficult watch on a personal level, but I think for the most part, a fair assessment of the situation. I was obviously part of it, but again, in my capacity as more of an influencer, as opposed to organizer, and then troubleshooter as well. And so I am in a position to be able to gauge a little bit of what's happening. I see both sides of it. I'm in touch, obviously, with the organization of Worlds, and I love it dearly, the World Championships, and I've loved being involved, and I'm going to enjoy being involved this year, obviously, as well. But I couldn't sit idly by and see maybe something messy happening, some sort of schism, perhaps. I think there was talk of that, and I thought there's a chance for unity and hopefully some form of consensus. And I think before breaking something, I think you've got to have you've got to try for consensus anyway. Yeah. And it felt like the winds were fair, and and it was going to be able to happen. So we, as the interim board of the WJPF, which really has had, as the WJPF, it has had it's had no decision-making powers at all. We've had influence, but again, we haven't decided on venue. We haven't decided on any sort of budgeting. We haven't decided nor as the interim board, nor as now the IJPA, any decision-making whatsoever with regards to Worlds. This is something I felt very strongly is something which should change, and I felt that everybody, and I think it's pretty round the board as well. Now, you said this as well, is where is this decision making coming from? Where's the transparency? Where are these decisions just coming from the ether? Where's everything happening? And where's the justification for it? And where's somebody raising their hand saying, I made this decision, we decided this? And so I felt it's very important. And I've been involved in talks, first of all, with Diane and Val. Diane, from obviously the founder of IJPA from Australia, and Val from the US. And they were, obviously, I was involved initially as a translator just to ease communication. And then my role grew, and I felt like I could have more of an effect on things. And I'm trying to be a bridging role, really, between the divide. And then, unfortunately, Diane abandoned the project. Val left the car in neutral, let's say. I think she was just about at least had the keys to the car at any rate. Anyway, so after I said, look, we've got to make this. This has got to become a legal body. We've got to organize it. We've got to get some statutes going. So with the interim board, we started talking about getting some statutes, and then we filed some initial statutes with a group of people, and we left the statutes open for all to read, and we got a lot of signatories from around the puzzling world as well to give the green light to go ahead and register these statutes here in Spain. And the statutes are available on internationaljigsawpuzzle.org again, which I think you'll be linking down below. So yes, and then we organized to have an AGM, which had to be in the first 3 months of this year, 2026. So we did those statutes, and then which is going to be the WJPF. And then we had the first vote at the AGM, results of which you can also see on the page we've got. It's a work in progress, as you'll see. So yeah, and then we started with our meetings. I was nominated by the Netherlands. The process was that all of the associations could nominate as many as people as they would like to be voted. And then we put our profiles up online so everybody could see them. And then all of the associations voted for who they wanted to be on the board. We left it fairly open and just a fairly simple system as opposed to voting in a president or the actual roles within the board. They just voted for people to the board, and happily I was one of them. And then yes, after a couple of meetings without a head, just the 9 of us who had been voted on. We're in April now. I decide to put my name forward as president. And I was fortunate enough that people should agree to this. Now, at the moment, we still think it's the WJPF that's what I think I'm president of. But actually, when I got the official statutes back from the registry in Madrid, it turns out it's actually the International Jigsaw Puzzle Association, and that was the name, and not. It had WJPF in brackets as the official name, but it didn't really make much sense. We're not a federation; we're an association. And representing, obviously, I think 30 odd associations who are currently official in our books, and we'll be looking obviously for other associations and hoping to help them become members as well. So anyway, we then have to go back to the associations as well, who are the AGM is the ultimate governing body of the association, and the registry had also changed various of the statutes, and so we had to go back and ask for only the General Assembly, can amend the statutes, and so we had so we went back to them again. This is I've jumped forward a bit. This is in I think it was just in July. I think it was just the first week of July or last week of June anyway. So they unanimously approved the new statutes, although they themselves are not perfect. We'd like to change them as well. There are a few strange things which the registry in Madrid has done. But anyway, we're up and running. We're a legal system. And so that I'm now involved with the IJPA as it now is. But the IJPA, contrarily, is not involved, has had no decision-making process, has made no decisions regarding worlds. It's not upholding the rules. It's not providing the volunteers, or it's had no the actual mechanics of the competition. We've had no say in any of it at all. None of the board, none of us. Well, Alfonso is obviously organising the. He's on the board as well, obviously with us, but he's done that separately with the World Championship organisation. I'm also aware that my name, obviously, and all of our names were linked on his website for a long time. And I know that a couple of videos as well, you were asking quite rightly as well. I mean, you were quite right in saying, well, what's, Charlie's name's up here, all of their names are up here. What are they doing? What you weren't to know was actually we were in the process of finding out what our role was to be. Initially, we assumed that our role would be as creating the guidelines for the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships, for adjudicating, for reporting on, and doing what that's what a federation would do, and that's what we had assumed. It turns out wrongly, but again, unfortunately, these things take time. We're not together in the office every day. We've been meeting. We've had, and we haven't been more than 2 weeks without having a meeting. So we've had a lot of meetings. We've been talking. We've been very active, but it's slow, unfortunately. It doesn't seem like it. I've had to find out our legal positions. I have to come up to speed, with what legally I have to do to bring everything up to date, with obviously local law in Spain, how to inform people. We've had to go back to the General Assembly as well, and had an extraordinary general meeting, as I said before. And so just lots of really pretty boring work. And we've done none of the exciting stuff, none of the organizing. It's been bitty. It's been, we've been just coming to agreements with things. There's not consensus necessarily, but I think we've been together and we've able to come to compromise on certain things. And so now we're in a position to say that we have released a form, which you can again see on the website as well. So people can apply from next year to host a world competition. And so that is with my IJPA president's hat on. I can say that next year it is our intention to hold a world event.
So will that essentially replace the World Championships as we currently know them, or will there potentially still be a World Championship in Spain, Valladolid again, maybe, as well as what the IJPA would be doing, or is it going to just be likely just the one big event?
Very good question. And of course, it's the obvious question. And the answer is it is up in the air at the moment. The answer is that nothing is being counted out. Nothing is being dismissed as a possibility. I'm going to say that our statutes, and we have a mandate to hold a flagship competition. We've made up an application form which we really spent too long deliberating on. We had 3 different versions, and I delegated a lot of that. Obviously, I've got some great people who know all about organizing the world's biggest competitions, and being national associations of Germany, USA, and Sweden. And then it was, what should it look like? Should it be a list of criteria, which I've got to say felt a little bit prescriptive. So we've come up with, I think, what's a fairly vague document in some, call it ambiguous, but excuse me. Again, it can be shaped is the answer. It can be shaped. And I think we need to be as objective as we can be. And we've really got to look at, there are all sorts of things which need to be looked at. Obviously, we're a non-profit with no bank account, no money currently, which makes it very difficult to go to somebody to say, hey, we want to host a tournament here. Do you mind putting up all the money for us?
Yeah.
Honest, Gav, we're good for it. So we've got those problems. We've got what is in the best interests of the puzzler. What is in the best interest? What is in the best? And this isn't the puzzler. This is we've got to talk about the puzzlers who've competed at what will now be the sixth edition
Yeah.
of Worlds. So would it be in everybody's interests to change that? What would be the terms of not changing that? So obviously there's a lot to be taken into account, a lot to look into. And we've got to work quickly to do so. But currently, we're no nearer knowing exactly what form that might take. It depends on people's decisions, people's willingness to compromise, and to have different options. And this is talking as well within the board. There people who have issue with it being, should it be for profit, non-profit? Does somebody need to be, certainly some people would say, and I know some of the board presidents would say, someone would need to give up, a month or two of work probably for this to work properly. Is that feasible? And on the other hand, you've got an organization, are they wanting to, to slightly let things be run in the way they may not like?
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic, if I'm honest. I'm optimistic that we come up with a solution that I hope it's not going to be to everybody's liking. Whatever happens, it's not going to be. You can't please all of the people all the time. What I can promise is that we will come up with a solution which has been thought through, that has been debated, that has been talked about openly in board meetings, and that people's opinions will be listened to, and that there will be transparency as to where it's come from. I hope all angles will be looked at. I really hope that we can do this quickly. We need to do it quickly. And I also hope, I'm pretty sure that I think it's going to be a year off from at least Valley of the Lid next year. It's about time. I thought it should be this year. I'm delighted to have it. I'm delighted to have it here. It's lovely. A 10-minute drive from my house. Well, what could be better? But I can assure you that is not going to be any part of the considerations at all for deciding venue. That's certainly not coming into the equation at all. So that's what I could tell you, Adam, about the next year's possibility.
I do like how you mentioned a couple times the transparency aspect, because I think that is what the people within the competitive puzzle community really want to see as much of as possible. And we do see that there's some high levels of transparency from certain national organizations and others not so
Yes.
much, through the new World Series competition that started this year.
Yes.
Very well known for how much transparency they shared and what they showed. Clearly, decisions were clearly thought about and released in a sensible way that made sense. And I think what was kind of really highlighted with Worlds last year in 2025 was it seemed like a lot of decisions were being made on the fly and changing during the competition, and things were just there's a lot of confusion going on, and it
Yes.
we don't mind
And
if
last year, the previous, no. There's, I mean, it's the thing,
yeah
just say things as they were, and it's because they were.
yep
There needs to be a proper team, and this is, I
yep
mean, I'm the first one who's going to admit that, and that there's an issue with that. There needs to be a team. I mean, this year's Worlds, there's no proper schedule. There's no, there's no reason. And I spoke to the organisation just 2 weeks. I said, "Well, why? Why wasn't there a schedule 6 months ago? I mean, there was no reason." I said, and the organisation said that the numbers are down. I said, "Well, no, people have lost trust, and people they're going to turn up, and of course these days people are so good, and you're going to cross the world for possibly." 3 hours puzzling if you're getting knocked out, a bit more than that if you're in the 3 competitions, but potentially let's call it 5 hours puzzling. And if you're getting knocked, which is what you're getting, if you're getting knocked out in the first round of these competitions. And I'm a massive advocate for giving a lot more and making sure that these people have got a lot to entertain themselves, and they don't turn into mere spectators. They don't have to hunt around to on sort of round glass low hotel lobbies to be doing their puzzle, or trying to somehow bring them together, and providing a much better service, providing auxiliary tables, satellite competitions as well, stalls, people showing their wares, for it to be a puzzle festival, and for people to come. And I don't think I think the organization feels I think that feels that these things should be put on. Whereas I don't think that I don't think they should necessarily be put on. I think that I think there's every if you're, but you can pay for something, but within a reasonable price. We're not looking to but we're looking to cover costs, obviously. And I think it's going to be reasonable if you're getting a service for what you're paying for. And there are, I mean, I can assure you, my head's full of ideas and longing to get these things out there. And it was longing to do so for this year, if I'm honest. My nominating for president was, really based on being able to be here, being able to develop and show. We've got 2 venues this year. And ironically, it's turned out that I've had far less this year to do with Worlds than I would have had if I hadn't been president. So just sometimes you never know quite how things are going to work out.
So let's talk about Worlds this year then. I obviously have some
Yep.
questions. There may be some things you're able to answer. There may or that you
Yes.
might not be involved with. So we'll just kind of go through some of the concerns people have spoken about, myself included, with it. Let's just kind of go through the week that
Yep.
is there. We're going to start with before the opening ceremonies even begins. I do want to kind of promote something that you're doing on the Tuesday evening
Yes.
beforehand, and we're going to touch on one of the big things I really like, and most people do, about the World Championship specifically, is the social aspect. It goes beyond the
Yes.
puzzling. People from all over the world show up, and they might not be the fastest at the World Championships, but they enjoy the socialness of it. And looking at the current list of people that are signed up to go as of right now, there's over 400 first timers that will be there this year. I think it's the highest ever, excluding the very first Worlds. So about 55% of the people are making their debut at Worlds this year, which is huge.
Wow, they're going to have an amazing time, Adam. I mean, and the social aspect is phenomenal. Once It's massively important. I mean, I always say that these guys have fun in a prison. I mean, it really is. It's quite amazing. It's really, really special. The social, everyone's just so friendly, so supportive of each other.
Yeah.
People from all walks of life, obviously from all over the world. It's something else. It has been from the very first additions, smiles on everybody's faces, and yeah, they are going to have a wonderful time.
So for those
Um, yeah.
so for those people that are looking for social opportunities and maybe to meet other puzzlers, other people within the community, like I said, before we even start with the opening ceremonies the next day, what are you doing the Tuesday
Oh, I've
evening
got a quiz.
beforehand?
It's my regular quiz. I'm going to give a caveat though. I do
Yeah.
it in a bar. Their air conditioning is broken, so if it's really hot, so I'm just warning as well. Ironically, I know where I'm doing it, the aircon's broken, so just in case, if it's really hot, maybe. But anyway, yes, I think you're going to give a description. It's my regular weekly quiz that I've been doing for 10 or 11 years now, in the bar that I used to run. And yeah, so it'll be a special. It won't be my puzzle edition because that'll be too hard for my local punters. But it'll be sort of obviously an international edition. It'll be bilingual as well, so I'll be doing it in Spanish and English. And so that's just a bit of fun if you want to come along 9:30 on the night before, on the Tuesday night. Then anyone be very welcome.
And there is no competing on the Wednesday, so it's not as though people need to be up the next day early to start puzzling. It's just the opening ceremonies and the giant puzzle challenge again the next day. So yeah,
Yes,
what is the name of the pub?
it's called Tio Molonio. Tio Molonio. It's
Excellent.
named
And
after. It's actually the bar is quite, because it's the probably one of the most well-known bands of the early '90s set up the bar, and they had a song called Tio Molonio, which is in honor of Old Maloney, who was the lead singer of the Irish folk band called the Chieftains. So there's a bit of history to it as well. And that's it, Tio Molonio. That's what they called them in Spanish, which means yeah, it means old Maloney. Basically, it's their way of saying Old Maloney.
great. And yeah, the link to their Instagram page is in the description below as well. So if you are in Valladolid a little bit early and you're looking for something to do on the Tuesday nights, there you go. So kind of a way to potentially kick off the week for some people. And then we move
Yeah,
into, yeah, which would be great. Then we move into the Wednesday. So it's a bit,
yeah,
we're starting the competition, we're starting the event. We'll just call it the event. A couple days later
yeah.
this year than we did last year. So starting on a Wednesday. What can people who maybe not who haven't been there before kind of expect from the opening ceremonies and the giant puzzle Pokemon challenge on that first day?
Well, again, I'm not involved with the actual organisation there, but I do know that that's going to be an ongoing task throughout the week. So presumably, it's going to be in a slightly cordoned off section. So the idea, I know, is that for the dome for the whole week to be a hub for people to meet up, where they have tables and chairs, people can practice. They should be able to meet up with their teams, friends, just go for some social puzzling. There's not going to be a big screen there. They're going to be 4 60-inch televisions there. So there's also going to be an exhibition as well, which has been brought out. It wasn't there last year. I think 2 years ago it was. It was in Recoletos, which is in the city centre, 2 years ago, in one of the rooms in the tourism office. This year it's going to be in the dome again. So that's an interesting thing as well, for people to look at as well. It's his, Alfonso's brother Fernando, who you've seen on the live streams, with his long hair, his long beard, very idiosyncratic man, and a real character. And he's got lots and lots of. He's got the old jigsaws, how they used to, how they used to make. He's got some very old puzzles. He's got copies of some of the oldest puzzles. So anyway, that'll be open throughout most of the week. And then there'll be, as I said, tables and chairs. And then there'll be the Pokemon Challenge, which is, very different this year from the 40,000 piece last year, because it comes in 10 4,000 piece bags, as many of these large scale puzzles do. And quite how that's going to be organized, I'm not completely sure who's going to be one of the organization team will be there. I won't be in the dome very much this year. I'm going to be mostly based, because I'm obviously presenting the tasks as well, again in a private capacity. So I am involved again, but again, it's in a private capacity. It's not as president. The only event which I've still got, have initially put it past the board as well, is going to be the puzzle party. Did you come along to the puzzle party last year?
I did not know. It didn't match with my schedule, but I was going to ask about the puzzle party as well. Then on the Thursday, no, on the Friday. On the Friday.
Yep. Friday after the team competition. Yeah. So this is after I think it's after the nations. I think that's right. I think I'm right in saying that. And then we're going to the puzzle party, which should be really good for everyone who took part. Had a lot of fun. There is going to be a charge for it this year, which I hope people understand. All proceeds coming to the IJPA. So total non-profit. No one's making any money from it. But we would love you to come along. And it's going to be basically the same format. We're hoping to get 400 of you along, and divided up into 50 tables, 8 people per table, and every 10 minutes the whistle will sound and you'll be assigned a new table with new people with new puzzles, and you'll take off where the last people left their puzzle, and then until we finished all the puzzles, and then we've got some karaoke. We'll probably raffle off the puzzles as well, I'm quite sure, as we did last year. So there'll be 100 puzzles going to be 50 500 piece puzzles and another 50 1,000 piece puzzles. So what does that make it? There's a 1 in 4 chance of you going away with a puzzle as well for your token €10, let's call it. And so we'll have a raffle, and then we'll go straight into karaoke, which Minica from the Netherlands is organizing. So definitely looking forward to that. Have you got a song lined up, Adam?
I have my karaoke songs. I'll keep that private for now, but I do have my karaoke songs. I'll have to debate it until we know what the schedule is, like what rounds we're assigned to. I'll have to make my decision on where I'll be, if I've qualified for something on the Saturday or not. So, because it is an early morning on a Saturday.
I don't think you're getting out of this one. I don't think you're getting out of it. I should be organising a campaign as well. We're going to. Why didn't you do karaoke? Keyboard warriors will be up in arms if we don't see some karaoke action from you.
We will see. So yeah, another great opportunity for people that want to socialize and meet others. Exactly. I do know people that did go to the puzzle party last year, and they really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, it is a good time for sure. Just to kind of go back to the opening ceremonies, specifically, you're one of the hosts last year for it. And I'm going to talk about the 2 different
I will be this year.
Locations as well.
I'll be up on stage this year as well.
Why is it important, or why is it special for people to attend that?
So the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
I mean, initially, it's a meeting point. It's a focal point. It's getting the party started. It's getting the week's puzzling underway. It's the meeting point where people get together, see old friends, start seeing some people they've seen as well over the course of the year. People they might have seen in some EJJs, meeting up possibly for the first time, and recognizing some people and just beginning to, to get that excitement into coursing through the veins, and get the first puzzling underway as well with the Pokemon puzzle after it.
Which is, yeah, I enjoyed the opening ceremonies last year just to get the atmosphere of kind of what was going on. Now it was in the dome last year. You
We had
mentioned,
nice power cuts as well.
yeah, within the
Yeah.
first 30 seconds of it, and it kind of, looking back at it now, that was kind of the omen of how the rest of the week was going to go.
It
And it
was a bit,
was,
really. I mean,
um,
I've always, strangely, Adam, I've always said, I've always talked about my role, even before last year, as plugging leaks. And I mean, it actually came true. The figurative
yeah,
became the real. I mean, it genuinely, with the chair thing, and I'd always talked about, I'm there plugging leaks. I have been for, and I just, I see where I'm needed, and I'm someone who's got my hand raised all the time, and that has been my role. It will be my role this year. I will do everything I can to make it a massive success, and I will do everyone, and so anybody who's got any problem, I am the person, and I will always. I will always do my utmost to sort out any problems, any issues that people might have, and help them, talk to them. Always available. The door is always open. So I
great.
hope that I hope that I feel accessible enough to you. Just come and say hello, and yeah, from whatever the issue may be.
And so you mentioned that the giant puzzle and a few other things will be taking place in
Yes,
the dome, while the competition will be taking place in the exhibition
that's
center
right.
location. So this kind of goes back to the concerns that some people have with the transparency aspect, because the vast majority of people, as far as I know, are not aware that two venues are being used this year. We've heard suspicions and rumors that might be the case. I know it's been shared with some of the presidents from the different organizations and such, but the puzzlers themselves
Mhm.
are not aware that the dome is still being utilized as part of the World Championships this year. So will the like is the opening ceremonies in the exhibition center, and then the giant puzzle is in the dome, or is everything in the dome on the
No,
first
no,
day?
no. The
Or
opening ceremony, the opening ceremony is taking place in the dome as it was last year. So we won't see the in the trade fair. The competition arena won't be used until Tuesday morning. And so yeah, so that there'll be the rest of the week. People are going to be divided. And again, I'm sorry, I can't be slightly more forthcoming into exactly how that's going to play out. It certainly, would have been and is a major concern of mine, is how that's going to happen. It's a big opportunity, but you have got people who are going to be slightly torn. They want to go and support their friends and see what's going on, and they will obviously. I hope that I hope that it'll be successful. I mean, ideally they'll be closer together. They're 15 minutes on foot.
yeah,
But that's if you're going there and back and there and back. I mean, yeah, that's an hour's walking that you've done as well. So I'm going to say that possibly I think it's a good idea, but not ideal. I mean, certainly what I can say from an IJPA perspective is that, you know, all this is the communication has got to improve enormously, and these, you know, the schedule, and the whereabouts of where everything's taking place has got to be, I mean, if not finalized, then very near finalized, months and months in advance. There's no excuse for not having these things way in advance. And really, I feel the organisation has shot itself in the foot by not having that. I said, my conversation 2 weeks, I said, you know, if this had been out 6 months, I can guarantee you'd have another 500 people turning up. If they know that things are going on, they know they've got a place to hang out, they know they've got some other activities that they can be doing, they know that their week there's going to be catered for, there's going to be entertainment the whole week, and they know that these things are going on. They know that it's going to be, you know, they've got an organization behind it which is transparent, which is showing how it can be done, and showing what's going to happen, is going to answer as well if something doesn't come up to expectations, and then there's going to be a chain of command. There's going to be, so look, that's up to us. That's our, you know, that's our responsibility. And there's going to be accountability, and that's what I was desperate for that to happen this year, and it saddens me that that's not the case. But I shall still do, as always, everything in my powers to make it a roaring success, and, you know, treat everybody, I mean, incredibly well, and make sure they have the best time possible.
Great. So yeah, so the people watching this video, just make sure on that first day you're going to the dome and you're not going to the fair, because there will be people showing up at the wrong building for sure. That is going to be, unless it's very clearly outlined on the website, because it's not mentioned there where it's being held. So we would just assume. I'm looking at the website right now. Wednesday.
I will absolutely make sure that is crystal clear. That's where people need to go as well. I'll make sure that will be passed on, because it is. You know, in this information age, you tend to assume that everybody knows things, and but that's, of course, it's not the case. It's, you know, just like I hadn't seen your second, I sort of assumed you become complacent, and even without meaning to, and you seek things out less, and you rely more on being informed by osmosis, by the machine, by internet, whatever it is these days. But of course, that's not the case. And you know, I think that's also note to self and to IJPA board, is that no, there's got to be a hub for this information, and there's got to be, and we've got to, as well, as the IJPA, make sure our communications are, we've got almost no communication so far, really, simply because there's not really been very much to communicate. There's no, you know, I've told you what there is to know, really, about, and it's more about the intention as well of what's going to happen. We've launched a competition as well for the logo. Again, the idea was that we've done it via the association, so the associations would then pass that down, and say, okay. So it was sort of, we want a logo. I don't think we're necessarily expecting to have a winning logo necessarily, but we thought it'd be wonderful if we did. But we'd at least get some interest. People, look, this is what's happening. We've got this thing called the IJPA, and so the idea was it was sort of filtered down that way, and people would say, something's happening here. Our association, our national association, your Canadian association via Amanda, you know, then belongs to, you know, what is to be a representative body of the other associations. It's the association of associations, and that is who we are representing. And hopefully always in a majority.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trust being put into, I guess, people running the association, the country organizations or associations,
Yes.
because not a lot comes through. Like me personally, I don't think I've heard anything from the CJPA with regards to Worlds this year. My information comes from all the other sources that I've been accumulating over the past year or so. So
Okay.
if you don't have that same, like, I'm lucky enough to, because of this channel and other stuff that I do, I have a much wider reach
So
than
you've
the
got
average
your yes.
puzzler. And people
Yeah.
submit stuff to me behind the scenes, which is nice to kind of to know about what's going on. But for the average puzzler who may be new to speed puzzling or just doesn't have the same potential reach that I do, it's tough to get some of that information. For example, the two different locations. It's if you don't know that,
Yes.
it's tough to be fully up to date with everything.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Adam. Certainly, going forward, and in the future, things pan out as they should. You're welcome. To call us out on those things. Look, we need to know this. A long time. You've got to in this day you've got to be able to take criticism, and that's fine. It's not easy, but you've got to generally what one voice says is what another 100 are thinking. So difficult as it might be, and it is difficult, you've got to bury your pride with these things. I mean, I remember watching your videos about the last years when it was just, I think, oh my God, it was like car crash. It was incredibly. It was really uncomfortable. I mean, it wasn't. It was all it was all fair, and there was nothing. There was nothing I felt which it was all true. There was, it wasn't. These were things. Many of the things you said, I could see were going to happen as well, and I've been advocating for all sorts of things beforehand, which unfortunately fell on deaf ears. I think it's I think it's I think it was a missed opportunity again, and it's detrimental to the image, obviously, but anyway.
So I do have a couple other questions. There is one, more of them are a bit more on the positive thing, and just kind of looking forward to what's going to happen this year at Worlds. But there is one key item that I do have to bring up because I've made a somewhat big deal about it, and other people have as well.
Right.
And that is the pairs event, specifically the pairs
Okay.
event, and the removal of the semifinals after the schedule was initially released, after people had already paid to go and bring teams in, going from removing the pair semifinal and going from qualifying straight to the finals is now incredibly difficult, just in terms of percentage of people that move on to the finals. What can you kind of speak to as to maybe why that decision was made? What is, like, I'm probably going to be frustrated. This is my one thing that I'll be frustrated on the most going forward, because making the pairs final was already very tough last year, and I was lucky to get through with my partner. We did great and we made it to the finals. This year there's a lot more nervous people because it's difficult, and it's just the fact it was there and now it's gone. Again, I know you are not specifically part of the organization decisions that were made here, but is there something that you can speak to as to maybe why this happened? And yeah.
The answer is, I'm afraid you're absolutely right. I've had no say in it. I've been aware, because of you, actually, that had happened and that there's been a change. My focus I was hoping that I was going to have, I was going to be focused on Worlds, but as it's turned out, it's been, and as I hope I've explained, it's turned out very, very different, very differently to I'd imagined it was going to turn out. And so I've been completely in the dark about all of these. Sorry, Chaz and Dave there. Sorry, I was just getting the schedule up here because I had switched.
Yep.
I'd switched it off. There we go. Championship. Yeah, you're right. It's just, I'm just looking at the nothing about the dome at all, is there?
No. No. Not that I've seen, at least, and I do check that website. So yeah, there's different things on there. But yeah, so is there any
karaoke's not there either? The karaoke, everyone karaoke's after the puzzle party, be in the competition arena. So that'll be from realistically probably 7 o'clock in the evening on the Friday. So
karaoke used to be on there.
yeah,
I remember seeing karaoke, and now it's gone. But karaoke definitely was on the website because I remember reading that and thinking, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And now it seems to be removed.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Okay. Initially, it was going to be after the opening ceremony. So we're going to sort of mix in. I think the Pokemon Challenge could have been going ahead as well. But anyway, there's space after the puzzle party, so that's when it's going to be. That's when it's going to be happening. So I can't tell you. Yeah, I can't tell you when that happened. I thought it was. I thought there was, because the initial conversations that I had back in probably January, there was going to be like a mega semi-final, and then go down. So there was going to be a 400-person semi-final. Does that make sense? There was going to be one really big semi-final. I think it was only going to be one. Am I right in saying that?
I believe so, yes.
And then that was going to be taken down to. I've not been involved in any of these conversations. That's what I seem to remember, and I've sort of I've seen you mentioning it, but it's not something which I've thought, oh, I must look that up. I'm afraid it's not something. I'm afraid that's not something I'm going to be able to change either. I won't be able to have any bearing on that. But again, I mean, what needs to happen is that, I'm thinking of next year that we're going to be involved, and that is obviously the schedule. We're going to, I would imagine, work with whoever the organizer is to work out what the schedule might be. We're not going to know how many people are going to sign up for it, so we're going to need a bit of leeway. So we again going back to 2027. But what I think we can say is that we might have to say, look, this is the proposed itinerary, and depending on numbers, we might have to change. I would hope that we would always change it, upwards as opposed to downwards. But again, those are decisions. Those are going to be decisions which are going to be in the hands of the board as well. Hopefully, listening to everybody and what's in everybody's best interest. How to obviously we have to think very carefully about how to announce these things, and how to with things being currently up in the air. With are we going to have to get a smaller venue and just limit ourselves to having a smaller competition next year? Something we're happy that we can fill out and leave people maybe who'd like to sign up and not sign up. Again, we've got to look into so many of these things, and these are so many considerations that we're going to need to take into account. And it's not. I don't think it's going to be an easy task, and it's not going to be probably to everybody's liking, but it never is.
Yeah.
Again, I can just go back to guaranteeing it will be something which is thought through. There will be reasons for things. Sometimes you make decisions and then you can see that possibly they weren't the right decisions, or decisions were taken in retrospect, maybe naively. But of course, the circumstances change, and you can never be completely sure of what the future holds. What you can be is completely transparent and inform people. And if you have to give a bit of leeway, if there has to be a bit of give, I hope people would understand that. Again, I'm slightly covering my back from a future event which is yet to happen. I can assure you, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not playing, but it's not an easy task. I think worlds. I mean, what would you think? Would you think that? I mean, it's obviously been improved hugely with the World Series. How would you see the two events? Would you think personally? Would you think that Worlds could be a sort of World Series? How would you see that, the two
Uh,
coming together?
so I attended the World Series this year. I will be going next year as well, especially because it's in Canada.
Yeah.
The I like the World Series to me is purely on speed. That is the number one priority, and it's testing a bunch of skills over the course of a few days, whether it's going to be in individuals, teams, pairs, whatever. The World Championships to me is more, yes, it's about speed. There's a luck factor involved to a degree because you're basing everything on one round at a time. It's not
Yes.
cumulative, which again, that's fine. But the World Championships to me is more of a social aspect with it, and there's a lot more going on over the course of that week. And I think keeping them separate like that is important. Like the World Series was there's a couple hiccups. It was their first year, which is fine. But
Yeah.
overall, in my opinion, it was quite a success, and hopefully that continues into 2027 for them. When it comes to the
Yes.
World Championships and whatever the IJPA may come up with in 2027, the challenge that I see them facing right now is like the World Series date has already been announced and set. The With the growth of speed puzzling, we're seeing a lot more big national competitions around the world that puzzlers are traveling to experience these other countries where all of this wasn't none of this competition really uh, existed towards the world championships back in 2022, 2023. There wasn't that competing experiences. So with the calendar filling up so quickly and so early, the the potential danger, I guess, for the IJPA is if speed puzzlers don't know where it's going to be or when it's going to be or all of
Yeah.
those factors, they're going to dedicate their time and money and vacation days to the other events we already know about in 2027, which I also think impacted Worlds this year. We didn't like it was what February, middle of February before anything was announced, which was almost 2 months later than what we were used to previously. And yeah, people bought their World Series tickets. People bought their plane tickets to travel to
Yes.
Germany or to travel to the UK for their nationals or the US or Canada. Like they decided to go elsewhere. So if that's a potential hurdle that I can see coming up very quickly for the
Yeah.
IJPA as we approach the end of 2026, heading into 2027.
Don't think I'm not aware.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely. No, there's. I do think as well that things are going to be. I'm really. I think as using this year's Worlds as a springboard, and just suddenly it's just and then in the period after Worlds, I think that's absolutely essential as well, that we just go all out, and really try and fight and see and come up with a solution for next year in the month after Worlds. I think there's no time. There's going to be no time to relax at all. I think it's good, and even that's going to be very tricky.
For sure.
I am hopeful though. I'm hopeful. It is going to be I think it's going to be again slightly transitional probably. I think it's going to be our first time as again as a brand new organization. I'm also very positive that that we will do. Look what Mel and Lou did. I mean, they turned that around in 6 months. I mean, from Australia, setting up companies in Ireland, shipping between three countries, paying tax in 3 countries. I mean, I think where there's a will, Adam, I think that
Absolutely.
I think that there's. But I mean, I think going back to what you said about the difference between the one, and I think that's what's been lacking is this idea. And of course, you do just have a good time just with your puzzle mate, all the social aspect. But I don't think that should be. I don't think you should become complacent and just say, right, well, they just have a good time because we've got them together now. Just go and fight it out for on your hotel tables and things. No, put some put some other events on, and people are so people are willing, apart from anything else, to help out as well, and people would like to see some local brands. They'd like to see some stalls. They'd like to obviously have some places to puzzle as well, and they'd like to they just make it more of a convention. I mean, so I spoke to Michelle last week, Michelle Casper, and she said she didn't have time to see all the things which were on offer, and that's what I mean. That's my idea for it. It should be a festival of it. It should be fun. It's I will say that some of these things are going to have a little bit of an extra cost, but I mean we're not talking about. I'm not talking about another 200 euro. I'm talking about maybe spending another 30, 40 euros perhaps on top of the competitions you might be putting your names down for, but getting something genuine in return as well. So we're not making money out of them, but but these things obviously would have to pay for themselves. Again, this is all conjecture. It's nothing's. Nothing's been decided yet, but as a vision, as a personal vision, I think that's got to be the way forward, and then just help them, give them a space, and I think it can be even better.
Just to kind of finish this off, it's just to focus on the positive aspects of Worlds this year, because like as much as I have had my critiques with it, which I've made very public on here, I am still returning to the World Championships because I still enjoy the overall experience. But there's still some unknowns that we're not quite aware of, with 20 something days left to go before it kicks off. Just again,
too much. Again, I'm going to say,
but in a positive way. Maybe some of these answers, maybe not. There's going to be some changes with the live stream hosts. Some are not returning from last year. I'm going to assume that there will be live streams. That is mentioned on the website, that there will be live streams.
There will be live streams.
Do you know, or can you reveal any of the names that we might hear from during these live streams?
I don't know. I'm not involved with the live streams, as far as I know. There are no regular. There's no anchor, as it were. There's no anchor host or hostess. And that's as far as I know. I am going to have conversations. I have been suggested by other channel as well. Some people might be interested, and I need to have a talk with the organization express my reservations as well as to not having, when Val did it, and Michelle and Jim from last year, they did a huge amount of prep work. They organized a schedule of people to go that, and I'm not sure the organization remembers quite how much work went into that, and quite how important that is as a window from the world. So I'm hoping to be able to have a bit of influence there, and who knows, maybe by the time this goes out, this comment will be anachronistic.
Yeah, hopefully. I doubt it, but hopefully. Do you know which rounds, if any, will we have unreleased puzzles this year?
Unreleased puzzles. I think semi-finals and the final. I think okay. Semi-final, final 1, 2. So what does that make it? 1, 2, 3,
4, 5. 5 puzzles. 6 puzzles. 6 total puzzles, because teams has 2.
That sounds right. I think so. So I think the 2 individual semis and the final, obviously, the individual, and then so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that 5? Am I missing something here?
The team's final has 2. Team's final has 2 puzzles, so there'll be 2.
2 puzzles. There you go. Sorry, you're absolutely right. Of course it is. Well done. You're one step ahead. I'm pretty sure there are 6. Where's that? Of course, there are 2 puzzles in the team's final, as usual. So yes, 6. I think that's right. Again, okay. Apologies if I'm misleading anybody with that information.
And we're hoping they don't show up on a website in advance this year. That's the goal. Like last year. No image leaks this time.
Oh, well, I mean that, yeah. We certainly hope that those avenues have been closed down. I mean, that again, I think that was
it's just I
think again the air conditioning. Well, I mean that wasn't, again, that's not the that's not the organization. That's and I we all know who's where the blames lie there, and hopefully those avenues have been closed down. Again, this insatiable appetite to try and find out as well, and we've got the desk, the keyboard Sherlocks. And Miss Marples, just doing it all. Fair enough. It's going to happen, isn't it?
Just the last thing I want to touch on is the new venue, the exhibition fair location. You live close to Valladolid, obviously, and what can you tell us about this venue? What can we expect when we walk in?
It's where the trade fair happens. I haven't. I've been to events there. It's massive open space for trade fairs where, the following week it might be full of tractors and farm machinery. They organized the Spanish version of the Oscars there 3 or 4 years ago as well. So it's a place which can be changed into, it's obviously multi-use. Again, would I vouch for it? I have my reservations. I mean, I think the area for the actual puzzling itself, I think it's perfect as a spectator venue. I don't think there's any tiered seating there.
Okay.
I think there's a bigger space to be standing around. Again, I'm not sure how much seating space there's going to be spectator-wise. Again, I haven't been involved in these. These are concerns of mine as well. So actually, so I'm sorry not to be able to shed light on these things. They are precisely the kinds of things, the questions I was asking myself when I found out that this is going to be the case and thinking that I was going to be involved. These are questions I asked myself. As things have turned out, I've had less involvement. So slightly, they've just taken, I've concentrated on what I've since become, which is the president of the IJPA, and I've concentrated very much on my role there. I was at some point, I was thinking, well, it's going to be confusing for people that I'm the president of the IJPA, also presenting it. I want people to know that that these are two very distinct roles. I reiterate that. I hope that doesn't confuse people. It is genuinely, there's not a conflict of interest. But I can completely understand that there's a conflict of perception by people. I apologize for that. I will apologize as well for people who've signed up. I know people have told me they've signed up because my name was on the website of the organization's website. It was there for a long time. I thought I was going to be involved. It turns out it wasn't. When we found out definitively that we weren't going to be involved, we asked for our names to be removed from the website. So it's not been with any intent to deceive anybody, and I can only offer my apologies if that's the case. I will be there making your stay as good as possible, as I do every year, and I will do everything I can to make it a roaring success. I will be working with what I've got, though. So I'll be working with what I haven't decided, with what's put before me. And making the best use of that, and to make everyone have the best time possible here in Valladolid. And I'm sure you'll go home and not regretting your choice at all from coming over. There will no doubt be some interesting incidents, which we've yet to see, because there always are. It is the nature of the beast.
And I think that's the perfect way to kind of end this chat, where, yeah, there's gonna be hiccups along the way, as there is with pretty much any event. Doesn't matter what it is. But yeah, I do think people overall will enjoy their experience at the World Championships this year in Valladolid,
Come with a
Spain.
positive mindset. Absolutely,
Yeah.
no, it's good. It's going to be it's going to be great fun. It always is. I mean, it's always great fun. I think there are obviously going to be things which could be better. I think, it pains me that, lessons not being learned. It's not something which is in my realm of thinking. I like to learn from mistakes, and I like to correct them. And if there are, and I have a feeling that they're already, some of the things we've talked about, they can be classed as mistakes and classed as things that we haven't learned. But anyway, the bottom line is that actually you're going to come together with a great bunch of people. You're going to have a lovely time. It'd be a holiday feel, with the competition there, with the excitement of everything. We've got some extra activities this year. You're going to have some places where you can do some social puzzling as well, not under those little square tents with a couple of broken tables underneath them. So hopefully that will improve your experience, all of your experience in Worlds this year. And I can just say I can't wait to see you 3 weeks ago. One of my favorite, if not my favorite week of the year.
Excellent. Thank you so much for speaking with me, Charlie. As a reminder, you are running the pub quiz on the Tuesday night before everything kicks off. So the link to that is below in the description below. If you have a question for Charlie or you want to reach out to him, his email with the IJPA is also included below, as well as links to his social media channels and the link to the new
Yeah.
IJPA as well. Again, thank you so
Yes.
much, Charlie. I will see you in just a few weeks in Spain.
Adam, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me.